Kia ora everyone, welcome to the first in a series of Women in Data Science Auckland 2020 online events. I'm Kate Kolich and I'm the WIDS Ambassador for Auckland 2020. Today's webinar is part of a global number of events that are happening around the world that have gone virtual this year as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This Auckland conference was actually supposed to be in March, just as New Zealand was going to head into lockdown, so it was postponed, and today is the first of our virtual events. We're very grateful to all the WIDS Auckland speakers and sponsors who have stayed with us as we've moved the event online. I would like to acknowledge our hosts, the University of Auckland Faculty of Engineering, and also the WIDS Auckland sponsors, our gold sponsor, Stats NZ, silver sponsors, SAS, MB, Servian, Finity Consulting, Red Hat and Todd Digital. Before we get into the event, I'd also like to introduce my WIDS co-ambassador, Professor Rosalind Archer from the University of Auckland, Faculty of Engineering.
Hi everyone, it's really my pleasure to be with you today. I'm currently Acting Deputy Dean of Engineering at University of Auckland's Faculty of Engineering. And this event was going to be hosted in our brand new building. We just had spent $300 million building the building that you see in the left of the PowerPoint there. This conference was going to be one of the first big events in that space. But as luck would have it, we taught in that space for 3 weeks and then went into lockdown. So it is a wonderful space and I hope you can be there to join us sometime. So Kate and I hosted New Zealand's first Women in Data Science event there in 2018. And it's our pleasure in Auckland to be involved again this year. And it really represents the Faculty of Engineering's commitment to having more women in careers that are really numerate and that are data driven. So I'm going to be spending most of my time behind the scenes on this event, trying to keep the IT in line. So for those of you who haven't spent a lot of time on Zoom, I know many of you may have from school or organisational accounts, you'll have a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen in the centre, and that's how you'll be interacting with us. So your sound is off, your cameras are off, but you will have a chance to type a question into the Q&A and then we'll get our wonderful panel to respond. You'll also be able to move things around on your screen. You'll have options, usually in the top right if you're a Windows user, or if you hover in the top if you're a Mac user, called Gallery and Speaker View. So you can choose on Speaker View just to see the face of who's speaking, or Gallery to see us all. And if you've got any problems at all, feel free to send a note through in the chat window, also at the bottom, and I can. Okay, I think that wraps up the IT side of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalind, and it's great to be working with you again. So now it's time to introduce our panel. Our panel today is made up of the following people. Madeline Cooper, who is actually from Stats NZ, our gold sponsor. Madeline is a data design analyst at Stats NZ. She has worked in various roles as a data product development since joining Stats in 2017. Her areas of focus are on use of administrative data to assess the New Zealand economy. Prior to working at Stats, Madeline held various roles throughout her time at Victoria University, where she completed a Bachelor in Marine Biology and Statistics and a Master's in Marine Biology. Our next panellist is Dr Ratneesh Suri from SAS, our silver sponsor today. Ratneesh is an experienced leader who enjoys building and leading high-performance teams that deliver across the entire spectrum of the analytics maturity curve, from automated, descriptive and diagnostic insights through to predictive and prescriptive models, including machine learning and artificial intelligence. Her current focus is on developing approaches to facilitate positive organisational change at all levels of innovation through agile experimentation with emerging technologies and data science. Ratneesh has a PhD in applied mathematics from Massey University. Our next panellist is Kayla Hegedus. She is a senior data scientist with Parrot Analytics. As one of the first data scientists at the startup company Parrot Analytics, she oversaw the development of the demand expressions metric, which consolidates millions of data points per day into a single standardized measure of popularity for television shows. This metric is used in custom analyses for major media clients, including the BBC, Amazon, and YouTube. Kayla has a background in liberal arts and theoretical physics and holds a Master of Science in Quantum Fields and Fundamental Forces from the Imperial College London and a Bachelor of Arts with a major in physics from Whitman College. Our final panellist today is Dr. Anna Divoli. She is the Head of Research and Development at Pingar. Anna has a PhD in biomedical text mining from the University of Manchester and has worked on a number of academic projects in the UK at the Universities of Liverpool and Manchester, and in the USA at the University of California, Berkeley. And she organises and categorises documents and large text data. So welcome to all of our panels today. Hi.
Thank you, Kate.
Okay, so now we're going to get into the Q&A with the panelists. Today we have a few pre-prepared questions for our panelists, and we will be also taking some questions from our attendees throughout the day later in the event. I think the key thing for us to know is that it's open to anyone who's logged on right now. If you have a question that you would like to ask, please do go ahead and use the chat or the Q&A to post your questions. But we'll get things started just by asking some of our panellists a little bit about their careers so that we can get to know them a little. Okay, so we'll start with Madeline. Could you tell us a little bit about your work and why you were drawn into this industry?
Thank you, Kate. Yep, as Kate said, I'm Madeline, and she did a great job at describing what I do currently at Stats New Zealand. I've been at Stats now for about 3 years. I started working in a role that was very structured and organized, working with survey data. And now I'm currently working with, as Kate said, a lot of administrative data, creating systems of new ways to measure GDP, specifically on a quarterly basis for New Zealand. Now, as she said, my degree is in marine biology and statistics, so this wasn't necessarily the industry I thought I would be working in, economics. I actually kind of fell into my role at Stats. I moved to New Zealand quite early on at 18, thinking I'm going to do the nanny thing and I will go to school for early childhood education. What nannying taught me was I have a lot of time and patience for children, but sometimes the parents can get a little bit dodgy. So I decided to instead go with something that I always knew I liked and enjoyed and kind of clicked with, which was numbers. So I went to Vic and studied stats and marine biology, and through that time I had various roles that have helped me really switch my mentality and my thinking to kind of encompass a broader aspect and kind of viewpoint of approaches to data.
Thank you, Madeline. So now we might like to hear from Ratneesh.
Sure, Kate. Well, my work combines my passion for servant leadership with my drive for putting data analytics and technology to work for driving value-add outcomes. And this value links to people outcomes and people benefits, so making lives easier for our customers and our employees. And this value links to the financial and economic benefits. And of course, for that to happen, we need to get the balance right between the focus on benefits and the focus on the ethics and the regulation and the governance side, and have the social license to operate. But I do believe that emerging capabilities have the power to enable better lives. And that's what my work has been all about through my leadership roles at IAG and ANZ. I was looking after the advanced analytics and customer analytics and AI kind of platforms. And through my involvement with NZ Tech, through my role at SAS, the work has been about unlocking the potential of data and analytics to help drive people-centric, intelligent outcomes and experiences. And along the way, I've really enjoyed coaching, mentoring, and fostering talent. That's been a privilege. And talking of industries, I think my current role at SAS gives me an opportunity to work across multiple industries in both public and private sector. And the first principles for establishing and running data analytics platforms stay the same, irrespective of the industry. And that's where my expertise lies. So if I were to sum it up, then I would say my work is about people and technology, data and intelligence, all coming together, kind of drive outcomes and change for better and change for good for everyone involved. And I love it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anna, would you like to share something about your career journey?
Sure. I actually going to explain a little bit what my work is. I work with text data. And so my data as a data scientist is text. And by text, I mean human language written down in a written form. And I develop algorithms and methodologies to be able, for computers to be able to go through massive amounts of text really, really fast and be able to identify information, either information that we need to extract or we need to categorize, or categories that a document falls into. So it can be a category or a tag, whatever you want to call it. So what I'm doing really, I'm transforming unstructured data to structured data. And once it's structured, it's called metadata. The uses are, limitless. So it can be used to enhance information retrieval, to be able to find text. You can do all sorts of data analytics. And, in government and industry, you can also help you with compliance. Once you know what's inside your text, you know if you need to keep it or dispose it, or if it is high security. So what drew me into this? I actually hate linguistics, and I always hated linguistics. It's not my cup of tea at all, especially at school, not my thing at all. But I'm always very structured. I loved math, I loved numbers. They made sense to me. And I stumbled across computational linguistics during my master's. And I was like, whoa, all of a sudden we get to instruct a computer to make sense out of this chaotic human language that is full of idioms and humor and sarcastic elements and all of those chaotic things. So we can instruct the computer to understand human language. So to me, that was amazing that I could see it in an analytical kind of way.
Thank you. So far we've had three really interesting and different career journeys. I think now it'd be very interesting to hear from Kayla, and really just how did you get into this field of television?
Sure. Yeah. My journey sort of started like Madeline's, really, in that I didn't set out to become a data scientist necessarily. I actually came to New Zealand on a working holiday visa and was lucky enough to get an internship at Parrot Analytics. At that point, there were 5 people in the company. It was very early on in this sort of startup lifestyle, but that was really exciting because that enabled me to be involved from the ground up in developing our product, basically. So as you mentioned, it was around developing this demand expressions metric, which was the first time that the media industry has had a quantitative measure of value for TV shows, and being involved with that, being involved with all of the data was very exciting, and I'm still doing that now. But in the 6 years since I've joined, I've also, because it's a startup, you wear a lot of hats. So I've been involved with marketing. I've been involved with client consulting projects. Currently back to sort of the basics with the data science. And now it's around not only expanding our product, which is the demand expressions metric, to movies and also talent, but also applying that in a lot of different ways to make very complicated decisions in this industry. And the biggest challenge really has been that the industry is not very data-driven at all, and it's very creative. So the biggest hurdle is really getting people to understand the value of data and why it's better to make decisions based on data than on how you feel about a certain media property.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think what you said there about the value of data is a really, really important aspect that really, I think, comes into all of our careers. And data science is an area that utilizes so many skill sets. It's not all about data, it's also about context. A number of you have studied a number of different things on your journey to being involved in the data science field. What are some of the subjects that you've studied in the past, or some other life experiences that have really helped you in your career? I'm opening that up to anyone on the floor that would like to go first.
I'll have a crack then. So I studied marine biology, but to me, something that I love about mathematics and data is that subject matter really is a small, finite portion of it. So a lot of things is the numbers just tell you what you want to know. The subject matter is kind of extra, is how I view it. So whether I'm measuring algae, which was my master's thesis on, or whether I'm measuring billions of dollars within the economy, it's really like for like in that, you know, you work with what you've got. Now, in saying that as well, there's the kind of life experiences that help you develop your career as well. So there is working with those kids that teach you patience in a personal aspect, meaning when you work in an office with people who you don't necessarily, you know, might not necessarily mesh with outside, it really gives you that patience as well to work together and come up with ideas and collaboration. So I think there's a lot of different aspects that people have in their lives that if you think about, everything helps you in your career.
Thank you. So Ratneesh, you've had quite a lot of experience across a number of different industries, and I've heard you speak about some of that work in the past. How have you found that all of these different skill sets have actually enabled you now that you're working in an organisation where you're going in and working, you know, with your clients and customers?
Yeah. Kate, just like Madeline said, you know, every experience and every knowledge gathering episode counts and then builds towards, you know, what you're going to become the day that you speak to somebody. And whether you're driving change internally as an internal leader or you are consulting from outside, the intent is the same, that you want to drive awesome outcomes and make people's lives better, you know, within the organization and outside in the societies and communities. So I think everything added towards it. If I start from the subjects that I studied in my high school, which were math and science, well, surprisingly, I wasn't really good at math in my primary or in my intermediate. And in India, it's quite common to have home tuitions. So my mom got one for me, which again, it was new to me. I'd never taken that, but that helped. So I think listening to your parents helps, especially at that age. And then I developed that interest and studied math and science for my high school, and then did maths honors for my bachelor's and my master's degree. Never thinking that I would have a career, because I was born in a business family and none of the women worked. So I was just doing it because I liked solving, you know, difficult things. So I just enjoyed it. Never thought I'll do a PhD or have a career at all. I thought I was born to be a housewife. But learning math definitely helped me. It helped me develop the logical thinking and the problem solving skills that really helped later on in my analytical career. And I also studied computer programming at the same time through vocational training. And again, it was great fun because I could see how the logic would flow through the code. And at that time, we had to actually draw the flow charts and write the algorithms in plain English before you would code. So it was highly creative, the left brain and the right brain coming together to give you a beautiful solution in the end. So that was awesome. But then I got married, had a child, forgot all about studies, moved to New Zealand, and I joined a PhD because I go to Massey University and the head of department goes, why don't you do that? And I was like, yeah, I like that. So I could do a PhD. I like solving problems. So I got into applied mathematics PhD at Massey, which was again a great learning experience. It did teach me the skills in stochastic calculus, real options, solving second order partial equations, differential equations in MATLAB. But what I really value, what it also taught me was the discipline, the self-learning, and embracing the ambiguity and bringing clarity to it. Because when you start a PhD, your scope is quite broad. So for my case, it was decision sciences and operations research. And then you narrow it down to the specific problem you're going to solve, which really helped me in my leadership roles, where I could see the big picture, no matter how unclear it was, and then define the path, and the way forward to bring clarity to stakeholders and the teams, which was a great skill to have. And what also helped me in the leadership journey was my interest in psychology and self-learning in that space, which again, you need to club it with your experiences. So I've been all about STEM with an A, where the arts A kind of stands for the human element and the design element for me. And the experiences along the way have helped shape me into becoming who I am today. But we'll skip the stories for now, otherwise we'll be sitting here all evening and share the gist that, be ready to reflect on your experiences, be ready to learn from them, and then to change your perspective, change how you look at things and how you respond to situations as you grow. Have strong opinions, but hold them loosely, and keep learning, adopt the growth mindset. That's what I've learned, and that's what helped me. Thank
you. Anna, I think that it'd be very interesting to hear from you. Your subjects that you studied were, quite different. And I think if we're looking at the type of analytics that most of us here are used to doing, your area is, again, different in terms of the large text mining. And I'm very interested in the subjects that sort of led you to get into that.
So my first degree, my undergraduate, was biomedical sciences. So we have a little bit of an overlap there, Madeline. And there are three things that I learned out of that, or that, looking back, I have taken from that. One is appreciation for the scientific method. So as a data scientist, look, I was never a trained engineer. I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of standards that you learn there. But there's the scientific method, and I think that's something that has helped me through my career, to have a way to have a hypothesis, to have a test, to evaluate it, to try to, there's that scientific method that you can take through with you as a data scientist from biology. I'll keep it short to that. The other one is that something that it's really valuable in biology, in biomedicine, where I come from, is understanding where your data is coming from. So when you do genetics, for example, and you study disease, if the sampling has been on Chinese women, and then all of a sudden your patient is a Black man, you know that that study or the result of that study might not be actually valid for you. So understanding where your data is coming from, always questioning, is this the right data to derive conclusions? Have they been sampled correctly? Are they noisy? Are they high quality data? So that's something else that I have taken away from biology. And my PhD was biomedical text mining, which means that I entered the world of data science, what is called now data science. Back then it was not called like that. As someone that now my end users, or the software that I was trying to create, the methodology I was trying to put together, was going to help end users that they used to be me. They used to be biomedical scientists. So I agree again, Madeline, that the skills are transferable to different domains, but at least for my field, having this empathy, try to understand the end user and what is their perspective and what they want out of a system, it's extremely important. So those were the three major findings from my biology self. And one more really huge contribution from the different fields that I worked in was when I was a postdoc at UC Berkeley. I was really lucky that I was working with Professor Hurst, and I learned a lot about human-computer interaction. So again, I learned a lot about it's not just an amazing system and amazing algorithms that we are developing and the amazing analysis that we're doing, but they need to, again, for my domain, there's data analysis that doesn't require end users, but for my domain, that it needs to be answering, or it needs to make sense to end users. So you need to speak their language. You need to be answering the questions that are actually valuable to them. So from then on, when I will continue to work with text mining, it's not just the quantitative evaluations that I've been doing, but there's a lot of qualitative evaluations, and they go hand in hand for my field. So there's usability studies, and the design, the user interface, and gathering requirements really early on. All of those things are really, really important. So yeah, the qualitative, the human aspect from human-computer interaction, it has taught me quite a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anna. That's really interesting, because that is important to always remember that the context does really count, and understanding where the data come from is also very important in decision making, or informed decision making. So Kayla, you've had a little bit of time to think about this.
Yeah, just a bit. But yeah, so my background again is in physics, and when I finished my master's at Imperial, my feeling was that it's very interesting, but I wanted to do something that was a bit more applied and had a bit more application to the real world. So that's why it was pretty fortuitous that I ended up at Parrot Analytics working with media. But I've been realizing that the process is very similar to what's in physics, because when we were developing our metric, it's really about modeling the real world using numbers. And that's the same in physics, and it's the same in media, in TV. How do we take all of these signals and create sense out of it? And the exciting thing about TV compared to physics is that the results are pretty immediately testable. So you can test to see, like, we've predicted that this show is popular. Is that actually the case? Are people talking about it? Are they watching it? Are they, downloading it illegally on the Pirate Bay? And that's always that's sort of the immediate feedback is really nice there, compared to sort of the more academic world of physics, I would say. But I would say that my training in that field as really just being comfortable with numbers, being comfortable with big data, was definitely invaluable to being where I'm at today, for sure. But I'm a little bit jealous of everyone today where data science is an actual field that you can study at university, because I feel like I've done a lot of catching up in the last 6 years as to where the field is now. But yeah, it's been a good journey for sure.
Thank you.
And you've done it in a good way, because learning by experience is the best way to learn it.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Agreed. So we've got a couple of questions starting to come. We've got one question coming through on the Q&A. If you are all comfortable, we'll just do one more question, then we'll go into some of the Q&A. Also, anyone that is watching today, feel free to ask some questions. We might just pick it up and answer it, anything that you might want to ask one of our people here today. So each of you really shared the journey that you went on to become a data scientist, and certainly I know even as soon as, like, it's only been the last 5 years that you could really start doing data science degrees. And so I suppose if you're thinking about it now in 2020 and you look back to the beginning of your career, and if you were starting out just now, what kind of advice would you give to someone that was just starting on their career journey?
I can actually have a very brief advice. Just be true to yourself, be honest with your ambitions, your skills, your strengths, you will find your niche. Don't worry about it. There are so many different fields out there. When I started, it was not called data science. Don't worry about it. And all your, the whole panel agreed on that. No matter what experience you have, it will come together to your personality, to your, when I say personality, your data science personality as well, the scientist you will become. So don't worry about it. Look, you do need to work hard. You need to learn some technical aspects. There's no denying that. But just be, honest with your own ambitions and your own strengths and weaknesses.
I'll second that. Oh, sorry, love.
That's all right.
Go on, Kayla, go on.
Yeah. I mean, my advice is to take a serious stats course in university. I didn't do that, and that's that's where I've done the most catching up, I feel like. Also having an experience with a programming language. Any programming language will do. If you know one, you can learn anything else. But the beautiful thing about data science, I think, is that you can work in basically any field with any subject, and it's all still applicable. So, you know, as Anna was saying, just pursue what you're most interested in, and you'll find your way for sure.
Yeah, what Ratneesh and Kayla were saying earlier about learning on the job experience, and coupled with Anna saying, follow what you like. Be a yes man. Take everything on board. If you have an opportunity, if you see an opportunity, take it, because that is what makes you learn. Ask for opportunity. If you're not getting it wherever, make an opportunity for yourself. That's how I've gotten where I'm at. I want to learn. I want to continue to grow. And I think Ratneesh also said that growth mindset is so important. You might not be good at something, but you tried it. And then you might, as Anna said, find your niche just by accident. So it's really that growth, that yes mindset.
Right, thank you.
And I would say yes. What I did not know earlier, and I learned by experience, and I think it's more common knowledge now, that to be a successful data scientist, or just to be successful in any kind of career, you need a combination of technical skills, domain knowledge, and soft skills. So really understanding that and starting from there, and kind of measuring yourself against that skill set and going, where I'm at and what is it that I would like to develop first, because also remembering that data science is a team sport. So you're not there by yourself. Although we are asking you to master all of these things, we're not saying do that all at once at the same time right at the beginning, otherwise it's all doom and gloom. You can lean on your team, be curious and be ready to ask for help. On the technical side, definitely elementary maths courses, mathematical modeling, statistical knowledge, it's a must-have before you start learning how to code in R and Python. Even if you're using automated tools, we still want you to know what's going on under the hood, because the products you would develop would probably impact lives through the decisions that you're going to assist and enable. So we want those algorithms to be robust and have rigor in them and not be misleading. So we really need you to have that math and science knowledge. And then for the soft skills and domain expertise, absolutely get your hands dirty, get the experiential learning, through grassroots meetups, data science events, participate in Kaggle competitions, go into community hackathons or datathons, because they're cross-functional teams. And you get an opportunity to kind of practice your communication, collaboration, presentation, all of those skills. Reach out to leaders if you like, if you find somebody inspiring, because it's quite likely they would say yes. Most of the analytical leaders, they love to share knowledge. So don't be afraid to ask for help. But again, don't think you've got to do all of this today. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You'll get there. You just have to show that courage and the drive to get started and keep going.
That's a really good point that you raised there, Ratneesh, about asking for help and things. What kind of things do you all think about the use of mentors across building up your career? Has anyone had experience in that space?
Big time. I think I would add to that, big time. Since I started officially or unofficially, I've always had them. When I started, I actually got one who I called as technical mentor, because she had all the business knowledge and all the tools knowledge that I didn't have coming straight from university. And I could see how well respected she was, and I could see how much I could learn from her. So really looking at who could help you with what, and how could you return, of course, first of all, the respect. But then I think it's a give and take, because now when I mentor students and younger generation, I feel I learn a lot from them, from what they have to share. And I've had mentors who've been business leaders, or even peers. Sometimes peer mentoring is great. So I think absolutely, mentoring, whether you call it mentorship or you just have meaningful quality conversations, one-off or ongoing, it's highly beneficial from technical learning or building your business skills. But I think also from a growth perspective, as you become mature and you realize what's important and what's not, taking yourself seriously, absolutely not important. But everybody around you and the business that you're looking after and the communities that you're looking after, go for it. So I think, yeah, amazing experience with mentorship, I would say.
Thank you. Anyone else like to share?
While I had great mentors, especially in academia, while I had great mentors there, I want to say a little bit of a hippie view. I think there is aspect of mentorship in most relationships that you have with people, your colleagues. I think most people have a trait, something that you can learn from them. And I really think you need to be looking for those things, not just with your senior colleagues, your junior colleagues. What Ratneesh said, that you're learning from your junior people as well. There are so many qualities people have out there, technical and soft skill qualities, and just be open to them. Just try to pick the good traits from everyone.
Yeah, really good tips there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, definitely thirding the whole learn from coworkers, especially when I was I'm still at the startup, but especially when it was small, there was no one else in the company who was doing quite the same job that I was doing, but there was still so much that I could learn from, the software engineers around accessing the data and Amazon AWS and everything like that. And then as the team grew, one of the best things, I think, as we grew the team, was always to hire someone smarter than you, at least in some area. And that really enables the team as a whole to grow and develop in all sorts of different ways and learn from each other.
Yeah, and on the back of that, I think also mentorship is really, really good, and taking the good from people is perfect. But from a different point of view, I also view it and watch people and how they make me feel and how they make other people feel as well, like those soft skills. And I also take on board, I don't want to be seen in this way, or I don't want to make someone feel like that person has made me feel, or whether it's in a meeting and someone scoffs at you, or whether it's just an offhand comment. I think you can also, take on board, I didn't like that, so I'm not going to do it. It allows you to see things that you might do that you think, maybe I should change my perspective as well. So it's really good to focus on the good in people, which is perfect. But I also think you need to take a step back and learn what we might not want to do for people as well.
Interesting. So we might just open up to some of the questions that we have there. I'm not sure if the panelists can see the questions. Okay, I'm trying to figure out actually how we can vote which one we want to answer, but why don't we just go through them all, since there's only 3. Okay, this is a really interesting one, I think. So what is the future of data science? How do you think it might evolve? And do you think it might keep its status of the job of the... I never think of it as having that status, but yeah.
I think scientists, data scientists...
Sorry, go Anna, you go first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to go?
Go for it.
Should be taking more responsibility about what they're doing. I'm talking about broadly data science. You know, we have seen a lot of examples of what is called unethical use. It's what I was saying before, really understand your data. Don't just deal with them like, oh, they're just numbers, you know, I don't care what they are. I think first of all, if your analysis is correct, if the data is correct data, correct sampling, if it has been cleaned properly, but also think your output, your conclusion, even if it is correct, which might not be if your data is not good to start with, it's noisy or corrupt, think what your output, what effect might have on different people. So, you know, we had examples about sexism and all of those things in media recently. So I really think that the data scientists need to take a little bit more responsibility. They will be taking more responsibility as we are moving forward.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, it's important to keep the context and the merge of the qual and the quant. You're definitely a great example of that there, Anna. Anyone else?
I think I would add to that, Kate, to say that absolutely what Anna said. And also I think data science, the future of data science is that it will become embedded in our lives, in all aspects of our life, you know, starting from education, just like not everybody has to be a specialist in data science and be a data scientist, but just like math and science, that in the elementary school, primary, you know, everybody gets to study it, everybody has to study it. I think data science and algorithms will be the same, that everybody has to study because it will be embedded in everything that we do, everything that we touch. So understanding that so that we can deal with it appropriately will become a major focus. In the business world, I think it will become invisible. Right now, it's all about, you know, how do we become data driven and use data science. That will fade away because it's not about the technology or the practice. It's about the outcomes that we are enabling. So this hype will settle down because data science will become mainstream. It will become part of each process and then become invisible, just like the rest of the technology. I think that's where it'll get to. And in terms of what really will be the future of data science, it will be whatever we make it. Because whatever we do today, you know, the ethics side, all of that Anna was talking about, it's a chance today to shape it well. Whatever we do today will be a foundation for tomorrow. So we've got to get it right today, especially for our kids. Because my year 4 came back yesterday and said, did you know, Mama, robots are going to take over the world? Because that's what she heard from one of her friends. And I was like, sit down, let's have a chat. They won't if we don't let them and if we develop them to work alongside humans and not take over humans. So I think it's what we do today that will make the future.
Right, thanks. So we've had a really nice question come through here from Lana. And I think it really is, it does show that demonstrating all the broad experience that people have had hopefully is going to be very inspirational to some of our people here. So Lana has asked, I'm still trying to find a technical data focused job. Seeing our presenters with such varied backgrounds gives me confidence that I can make it without the traditional comp sci degree. Do you have any advice on identifying organisations with learning or development growth opportunities? Like, so how would you learn about whether it's worth joining a particular organisation? What are some of the tips that you might have?
When I was looking for a job coming down to Christchurch, I applied for everything. I applied for everything and found out about each organization I applied for, whether it was their motto, whether it was their statement of intent, whether it was their strategic outcomes. Everything is available on websites nowadays. You can find everything. And as I said before, every opportunity gives you a stepping block somewhere. If you want that technical data focused job, you might end up working there from something that's not so technically focused within that organization. So I think it is having a very open mindset and believing in yourself and being okay with rejection as well. I've gotten rejected from a heck of a lot of jobs, but if you don't put yourself out there, there will be no development opportunities for you. So I think it is put your feelers out. There's no harm in applying for anything and everything. You will get something, and it's a stepping stone.
Thank you. Anyone else, any advice to share?
I want to say, because I've stayed in I've been in my current position for a few years, and I don't know what background to look for whenever I want to hire someone. So I'm really glad that Madeline has suggested that, because whenever I write a job description, I say that I don't care about your grades. I don't care what you did at university. I care about critical thinking. So when people send me transcripts and grades, they mean nothing. I really don't care. At the interview, or your response at first, and then at the interview, I'm going to test your critical thinking. So yeah, Madeline, you're right. Just apply. And interviews, just remember, interviews is a two-way thing, right? You will also evaluate potentially your employer. It might not be your cup of tea, it might not be where you want to work. So if you get to the interview, it's a two-way thing. Also ask questions there and ask about if they provide training, if they provide opportunities. They might require you in your own time to go to do an online course or to be looking up on the internet for information. Or they might actually provide you a lot of training on the job. So, yeah.
Thank you. We probably have time just for one more question. So we do have some questions from the attendees here. I'm just going to double check and see if there's any in particular that we might want to go through here. There's quite big questions here, so we might need to save those for later. What do you think that we in New Zealand, New Zealand data scientists, people that work in New Zealand, how can we have an impact on the rest of the world? There's a lot happening. Each of you are doing things that have either connections deeply embedded across New Zealand, as is the case with Stats, but also reaching outside of New Zealand, as is the case with many of our other panellists. So there's a question here that says, what do you think that New Zealand data scientists have that data scientists in Silicon Valley and other big companies don't have? So in terms of people you've worked with across the country, your experiences of working here.
So I think I would say that I haven't worked with the data scientists in Silicon Valley and anywhere else outside of New Zealand. So I wouldn't be able to tell what do they not have that New Zealand data scientists have, but I can definitely comment on what do New Zealand data scientists have, which really is a value add. And I think what I have noticed mostly working with the data science community in New Zealand is that they really are curious. And I love that fact, because that's the first thing that you need. Just knowing how to develop an algorithm is not going to take you anywhere except for a research project. And again, probably it won't be a good research either, because if you're not doing the literature reviews and understanding the subject that you're developing the research for, it's not going to take you anywhere. So curiosity is a must-have. And then the drive, the hard work. I'm still a little bit old school, so I would say we need to work smart, but we also work hard. I believe in both. So I've noticed those things, and really that they're like a sponge, really ready to learn and absorb stuff. Yes, maybe not everybody right at the start understands the collaboration side of the world, but they're happy to learn. Just need to show the people, or the cross-functional teams what to do and how to do, and they're all for it. I've seen amazing results coming out of those collaboration skills, and eventually, you get to that point where you start becoming a unicorn of some sort with all of the communication skills and influence skills as well. But I think that's what I really like about New Zealand data community. And also they're quite close-knit. So, the grassroots events that happen here are really high quality, and the networking, the quality of networking is amazing as well. It's not just for the pizza and the drinks. People really want to share knowledge. And I've seen, again, those partnerships, yielding some amazing stuff for their respective organizations or their own learning. So I think it's, as people, they're great. They're thirsty for knowledge, and they're thirsty for, looking for better ways to better themselves and to give better results back and add back to the community, which is what I really value.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think coming from the US, it's the New Zealand culture of sort of ingenuity really plays well with data science, I think. and having, again, that curiosity and drive, and also the collaborative effort, and the sort of the lack of ego that you can see in other communities. It's all it allows the community as a whole to grow and outperform, you know, the top minds in Silicon Valley, because we can come up with those solutions and work together towards these goals.
Thank you. Okay, so just going to have to wrap up very shortly. We do have a couple of extra questions that have come through, and I probably might, I see a bit of a theme coming through. There's a lot of people attending here that are asking questions around, like, how do they get in? How do they make their break? You know, get in with, you know, pre-existing skills. So someone's asking, what are the online courses that are free or low cost that you could suggest to get started in the field? And what are some of the effective means to showcase some of your skills that you've gained through the extended learning?
When I first started as a data scientist, the course that I took to really get up to speed was on Coursera. There's a course through Johns Hopkins that's a series of 9 courses around R, around data science, around a bit of machine learning, how to sort of put it all together. That I thought that was quite a good introduction to the field. But there's many other sort of online learning platforms that you can audit courses or pay to have a certification, whichever one you think is best. But just continuing to learn and develop those skills, I think, is really quite important. And I'll let someone else answer how to showcase that best.
I think showcasing definitely through community events is an amazing way to do that. If your organization is there or isn't there in community, there are lots of hackathons and datathons happening. You know, one that recently happened was the MIT Critical Data, the health datathon, which was online. I think it was sometime last month. And globally, a number of data scientists and other domain experts could participate. We had one participant from New Zealand as well, who stayed up through the nights, and she had an awesome experience. So I think to showcase that, give back. There are so many community projects, and there's so many non-profits running those things now. You know, there are shovel-ready projects that I think there is Infrastructure New Zealand is looking at as well. And the tech has lots of platforms for students to contribute back through different working groups. So there is lots happening out there. Find a mentor as well, because you know who knows this field, because they can help guide you through this path. Sometimes one-off conversations are not enough. So really staying continually engaged and finding opportunities to give back gives you an opportunity to practice those skills as well, is what I would recommend.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I think we're right on time just about here. Does anyone have any last minute things that they would like to give some advice in terms of some of the big substantive ways that you can make a difference going forward?
I want to encourage everyone to work with more women. We are a panel of women, and we are in a male-dominated field, but it's actually, there are women out there, and we can make a difference by us, as a starting point, start working with more women on any sort of collaboration, either as part of our paid job or outside.
Thanks, Anna.
I would second that. I would say to be a woman in data science, you do not have to be a data scientist. You know, we would love more women data scientists, but data science, like I said, is a team sport. So we need more design experts. We need more social scientists. We need more domain experts. We need you. So we really want more women to join this field, irrespective of where you're coming from. Yes, we want to catch you young and influence you in your primary towards more of the STEM subjects. But regardless of that, even if you haven't, opening the doors now and supporting, you know, giving women role models and opening the doors at every stage through every field is absolutely the way to go.
I think being, as you said, being each other's cheerleaders, we want women in the field. You might not like someone personally, but that doesn't mean that their professional or their abilities are different. We need to hold ourselves accountable as well for how we treat each other, and how we welcome each other, because personality and professionalism is quite different, and some people find that hard. And so I think it starts within ourselves. As you said, we need to encourage women. We need to be our biggest cheerleaders. We already have other people who would like to, you know, some people wouldn't like to be our cheerleaders, but we need to hold each other to account within ourselves as well, and really create that community for people.
Yeah, and I would just encourage everyone to go out there and apply for jobs. Even if you don't think you're qualified, you can always learn, and as long as you can show that you can learn on the job, then you're perfect for the role.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. I think what you've said today and how you've so openly shared all of your experiences has been really, really helpful, I think, to so many people going forward. I'm just going to bring the panel conversation to an end today and say thank you very much to all of our panelists. And I'd like to share a little bit about what we have going forward with Women in Data Science Auckland. So as everyone is aware, we had to postpone our event, but we, along the way, we gained a few extra speakers as we went to an online format. So as you can see up here on the screen, we actually have a number of speakers who have pre-recorded some talks. These talks are going to be released throughout July and through into August. So please do tune in to our YouTube channel when that is shared. These talks will all be made available on the Women in Data Science Auckland YouTube channel. As well as that, we will be hosting another live webinar panel on the 29th of July. I need to move forward. Rosalind. I can't move it forward. Thank you. The topic for the panel will be open data, open source technology and community engagement. Our panelists for that event will be Mandy Buswell from Red Hat, Amy Whitcroft, who is part of the Open Data Institute, Kim Fitter, who is the founder of Our Ladies Auckland, and Mariana Pekar, who is the Principal Data Scientist at the Social Wellbeing Agency. So if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please do join us again for another live webinar on the 29th of July with some new panelists. And also tune in to our YouTube channel to check out all the talks that we have from our other speakers right across New Zealand. Okay, so thank you everyone for attending today's panel. We thank our panelists and our sponsors, Stats New Zealand, our gold sponsor, SAS, our silver sponsor, Servian, MB, Finity, Red Hat and Todd Digital, and especially to our hosts, the University of Auckland Faculty of Engineering. We look forward to seeing you all again soon, and check us out on Twitter, which is @WIDS-Auckland. Please also tweet about your experiences today. We're very, very keen to hear how people found this interactive experience. Thank you.
Thank you.